Hello, everybody that likes real-time strategy games. Well, I've got a real-time strategy game match for you. Very interactive, as they may say, as I play Norsca versus the mighty Wood Elves of kiting. Very interesting build for them, right? But let's go through mine first. I'm going to have a front line of just Marauders. Now, knowing how this match will go, I can actually just hit play while introducing my army. So, front line of Marauders. Lots of them. Bring one Regiment Renown so that they all have perfect vigor. I'm going to have a secondary line of Marauder Champions. You might see a theme here. Everything has shields. Marauder Champions with shields, Marauders with shields. I'm going to bring some Marauder Hunters with javelins. By some, I mean 3, and 1 unit of the Brutes of the Hound. Now, my leadership is going to be a Shaman Sorcerer with Lore of Fire, because Lore of Fire is really good against Wood Elves, especially since they have such low armor. And Wulfric the Wanderer with his Champion of Kings. He's a very powerful unit, especially in duels. And I made sure he's on a horse, but not on a Mammoth, because a Mammoth would just get shot down to pieces. Now, my opponent, I should actually slow it a little bit down so I don't miss too much action, is the Wood Elves. And as you probably can tell from my little demeaning manner in my voice, they have Way Watchers. Look at these spectacular units. They can fire on the move. They're armor piercing. They have good range. As in good, I mean 190, which is kind of absurd. Their missile damage is also a little bit on the insane spectrum. The only thing that holds this unit back is ammunition. And how many units does this guy have? He has 3 of them, supported by a Glade Lord. Got to stop that Glade. That's specifically the Glady with the net of Kununos? Can't remember the particular name. Prey of Aneth Rama. That's not completely different ability. But yeah, so he has the ability to root you and increase the missile damage taken. And he's going to be shooting a lot of arrows at me. Now, he's going to have a line of infantry, the Eternal Guard, and they're really just there just in case I like charge down his archers with cavalry, which is the right amount of play. It's Wild Riders, some War Dancers with Azurai Spears, a Branch Wraith with Lore of Life, and of course, all the way spread out in the entire map, he's going to have Glade Riders with Hagbane Tips, and the usual Wild Riders, just Wild Riders more hidden in the forest. It's what you expect. It's a kiting build. Let's deal with it. I'm going to start out by just pressing the W key, as a lot of people say, and moving forward and just taking those arrows to the face like the Marauders I am. Like, look, oh god, oh no. 1 volley. Now, the Icehorn Marauders, look at these guys, everybody has at least a bronze shield. If I didn't have any units with shields, like, this would be so devastating. But Icehorn Marauders, man, they have cool models. Like, look at these guys. I never suspect, like, they're taking arrow fire, but little capes. The capes are what protect them, guys. It's the capes. Everybody knows that. Unless you're watching The Incredibles, it's no capes. Now, he's going to focus down my Regiment Renown unit, which I suppose is the right play. In hindsight, for my opponent, you should most definitely be shooting down my Brutes of the Hound, but I'm keeping him back. I do not want my Brutes of the Hound to be firing. And I'm just going to use my cheap Marauders to chase these Way Watchers into the sunset. I believe I am over chasing here. I believe that if that's the correct term, but I want these Way Watchers away from me and gone while I deal with what little infantry he has. They'll really have no impact on me. One instance of over chasing for sure is my units of Marauder Hunters with javelins. I try to use them to like be a screen, right? I need to screen out these Hagbane Tip Glade Riders, but I just completely forgot about Wild Riders being a unit that exists in this game, and they just got completely routed and destroyed by Wild Riders. So there goes what range components of my army in this immediately, which is a huge disadvantage, but I've won before with Chaos with no projectiles, and I don't see how I could not do it with my Norskins. Now, I do have my Shaman Sorcerer Fire. I want it to be far back as possible because Way Watchers can destroy single target enemies, including ones walking on foot, which is just absurd. I think it's ridiculous that you can do that. And Wulfric is going to come in here and make sure all of his spears are out for the count as soon as possible, and I do catch his Branch Wraith. You lust for the Dark Prince's name. Great. I am going to use a Hunter of Champions, reduce the speed, armor, and melee defense, and Wulfric the Wanderer is going to duel this Glade Lord. Deal the damage that's needed. If he gets one good smack in, there goes 10% of your health. He is built for this, and he's going to deal a decent amount of damage already. So the second Wulfric got caught there, the Prey of Anathema is going to catch him, but no one is actually there to take advantage of the net and fire into him, which is really, really good for me. Way Watchers have been caught over here in the center, and the Way Watchers over here they've been spread out. You use your units, you spread them thin, you don't get the value out of the arrows, and yes, you're taking down one unit of Marauders with 2 Way Watchers. Way Watchers are expensive units, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot afford to let this happen. Now, good play on my opponent. He is getting some rear cycle charges with the Wild Riders into my poor Marauder champions, but Marauder champions are armored. And if you look closely, Wild Riders don't have armor-piercing attacks. So while very effective, it's heavily mitigated by the raw armor stat of the Marauder champions at 80. It could be higher, but 80 will do the job and stop a lot of the damage. And my Brutes of the Hound just doing what they do best. They're going to churn through this Eternal Guard with no regards, and they'll just get a bunch of kills because Berserker Infantry are there, they're practically built to kill Spear Infantry. And it just becomes an entire slugfest in the center of Wild Riders versus some Marauder champions. Nobody's meant to kill each other, but infantry usually win out when it comes to a pit fight against any form of cavalry, unless that cavalry has to be pretty high tier if you want to win a pit fight. Now the Glade Riders are running low on ammunition. They've gotten their value, I suppose, like 71 kills on this one. That's a lot. And my Shaman Sorcerer Fire is just, I just realized, wait a minute, the Way Watchers are not there to kill them. I should probably not let this happen and lose my only source of magic. But at this point, the balance of power is in my favor, and I'm still chasing off all what's left of these Eternal Guard and Way Watchers. This Way Watchers just got smothered. I'm so happy they got smothered before. Since when you lose your models, you lose a lot of the projectiles that you can fire, and it drastically decreases the amount of firepower being sent at you. And my opponent just realizes, hey, wait a minute, I brought 3 Way Watchers, not 1, and he brings back these 2 all the way on the flank that were being chased to the sunset by my Marauders. Should have used his Wild Riders to defeat that unit of Marauders because I completely overcommitted. A lot of misplays on both sides, but I just like to showcase videos where I gotta beat the kiting build, guys. There's nothing quite as satisfying as beating kiting elf builds because, in my humble opinion, it's not fun to go against. And I'll show it over time and time again. Very effective, absolutely. So effective. But Marauders will get the job done, and that's what I like. It's just, I think it's so interesting that you can actually just bring a build of so much infantry that you run out of ammo. It's the Russian tactic. If you send enough bodies, eventually they'll run out of ammunition. Now I'm going to send my Marauder, I need my Berserkers to take a lot less damage. Send my Marauder Champions forward, send my Marauders Berserkers in the back. Now he switches his fire to the Marauder Champions, shields facing forward, a lot of damage mitigation. So the Marauder Berserkers don't get instantly melted by a few volleys of arrows. Now even with the shields, like look how much damage that's taking. A little back and forth as the Wild Riders try to get their cycle charge value. They have 83 kills, 105. It's definitely decent for my opponent. But Wulfric the Wanderer, he's just a tank. I did make sure he does have a shield, a bronze one at that, and I took out his leadership really quickly because let's say, I mean, Wulfric the Wanderer is probably one of the best 1v1 duelists in the game. Aside from like maybe Tyrion, right? Yeah, it's tough. The Hunter of Champions is a powerful ability that just, it comes off cooldown so quickly. And he's going to try to take out all my little units that are not with any support, but like, this Marauder Champion has done its job. It has chevrons for how much damage it did. And I'm spread thin here. I am spread thin here, but the Wild Riders are too low in HP, and every time they charge, they do take a little bit of damage. And it's a battle of attrition, right? And in this battle of attrition, he's running out of arrows, and I have plenty men to spare. Man, I'm really turning into Russia. That may not, see, here guys. This may look like Wulfric the Wanderer, but he's actually Stalin. Another Hunter of Champions gun. I'm going to get this Glady out of the battlefield for last time, make sure the Branch Wraith has already departed from this world. Now I need to get his powerful leadership out of here. The only problem is the Gladius just attacks on the move, I believe, and is just so fast. Hunter Champions changes that relatively quickly, though, and Glady will be dealt with accordingly. Branch Wraith, no magic for them. Glady, no leadership for them. And that's going to be a massive loss for the opponent. The lady finally dies, and without any arrows left, the Way Watchers are forced to fight in melee combat against champions. And last time I checked, even though they're wavering, and it says losing decisively, these Marauder champions are just almost the perfect counter pick against Way Watchers. It's the HP loss that makes them rout, but something that just, they'll come back and these Way Watchers will die, and I will be very happy about that. My Marauder's still alive because I keep on, you guys have to make sure any unit that's not shielded in the Wood Elf matchup needs to stay as far as physically possible to those archers, because these Marauders, look how many, 81 kills. That may not seem like a lot for a Berserker infantry, but all of those, it's the spear churning is real. Making sure he has no real frontline unit. I just chase these Way Watchers into the sunset. I say that a lot, but I keep on doing it. And Wulfric, man, I told you guys, just a few volleys, and Wulfric's already at 400 hit points. No arrows left for my opponent, though, so luckily for me, Wulfric will be able to survive this combat encounter, and I have kind of I only have a few units left, and I'm going to start to group them up. I'm going to force him, hey, I don't care, you have to come to me, sir. I'm going to be approaching here, and actually, I'm going to make my units stay still, if you can see where I'm telling my units to move. Make them stay still. They are very tired, winded over here, exhausted. Well, if you keep your units still, if you guys didn't know, it reduces their fatigue, right? So I know he has no arrows. I'm just going to make them stay still, and they're going to get their vigor back, because I know they have to come to me, and the balance of power is firmly in my standings. I only have 203 units left, but that's as much as I need to kill the remaining Wood Elf forces. Look, no armor piercing in their melee weapon strength, no armor piercing, a cav unit, of course. They have nothing left, and it's going to be a little stare-off, because Wood Elf players they sweat as they realize they're out of arrows, and then they don't understand. They're just like, what do we do? I do try to bait him forward. I'm seeing if he's paying attention. I use the little ship that Wulfric has to try to take out what mobility my opponent has left. And yeah, I'm just going to be waiting. Now this unit is now active. This unit is tired, and now they're only very tired instead of exhausted. So my opponent is doing the same thing. He realizes this, but I think it'll benefit me much more than it'll benefit him. I'm going to speed it up because all Wood Elf players do enjoy making the match about 10 times longer than it really should be. So, he attempts to move him forward, and I'm just going to be like, all right, just come to me already. I'll kill you. You can't take out this one unit Marauder champions with 2 chevrons. You really can't take out this other unit Marauder champions, and these Brutes of the Hounds will make quick work of what's left. Fantastic. Nothing makes me feel better than dealing with those kiting builds. And you may feel, hey, Poison Ducky, why do you have such a strong hate for this? It's because I do. It's like artillery in World of Tanks. You just hate it. Do you dispute its viability? No, absolutely not. But do you enjoy crushing it? Absolutely. Well, guys, thanks for watching the video. I would go into a build for how Wood Elves can counter this, but like, let's be honest, when you fight a Wood Elf player, they're not going to do anything different from this. I mean, they can, but like 90% of the time I see Wood Elves, I expect Way Watchers. So yeah, leave a like if you like the video, and